Today we're joined by James Clemens, head baseball coach Johnny Johnson, scheduled to play Spain Park here tomorrow night, Friday. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing really good, man. Glad to be on with you.
Glad you could join us again this year. We really enjoyed talking to you last year. I got to go back and just remind everybody, though, that you are the man responsible for the Robin Ventura, Nolan Ryan fight because you provided the baseball in play, right?
Yeah, I did. I was bat boy that night and ran balls. So I guess the ball I handed to him started it, right?
Yeah. So it's claim to fame, and I think kids today still know about that fight. And I'll tell you, that's one thing that I've actually enjoyed this year at Spain Park. Real quick, and I don't know about you guys, but we've had some of the coaches have younger kids that are getting to that age. They can do it safely, and they've been a bat boy or a ball boy, and it's been fun watching because I think that's something that's kind of gotten lost a little bit in baseball. You don't see quite as many kids doing it even at the major league level.
Oh, I agree. My son actually got hired last year to start out doing it over with the Trash Pan as a AA team, and really enjoyed that, and then ended up getting pulled into the clubhouse and working in the clubhouse. So he had a ball being around those guys.
Yeah, Trash Pan is a great stadium up there. If you have a chance, if you want to see a minor league baseball game, there's probably no better place better right now to go see one, is there?
No, and they do an outstanding job of what they do over there. They're great in the community. We get to play over there a couple times a year, and Garrett Farnham's the GM, and they do a really good job. They do.
So, last question: have you been back to the new ballpark at Arlington? Have you had a chance to see it yet?
I have only been on the outside. So, my parents live about 3 miles or so from there. So we go back, Christmas time, those kinds of things, and have not gotten to see a game yet, just around the outside. So hadn't been able to do that yet.
I got to go there this summer. It was an impressive experience. I know they got the All-Star game this year, and I thought it was a very well-done stadium, and it was very nice. It was a good game to go see. I tell you, I did not get a chance, to try the Boomstick, the foot-long burger. So if you get back, maybe you should try that. So anyways, let's get to some – what's that?
Going to need a partner to eat that, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I couldn't believe none of people bought it, but they had them. So hey, looking through your roster, I haven't had an opportunity to watch a lot of games, but I've seen, a lot of your box scores and stuff and read a lot about you guys this year. Very senior-laden team. You got a lot of guys back last year, and you guys seem to be playing very well. How much, and a lot of these guys got experience as juniors. How much is that playing into your success of this season so far?
I think it's invaluable. There's 14 seniors, so I got a big senior group. I joked with somebody the other day when I was at Fort Payne. There was years I didn't have 14 varsity players, and so to have 14 seniors is a blessing because they've played together a lot since they were in middle school and have been successful a lot together. And we lost some key people, our catcher, shortstop, and some arms off last year's group. But feel like we've done a pretty good job with some guys stepping in and replacing them. And, we haven't played our best baseball yet. I still don't feel that way. Even though we've, I think we're 15-6 or something like that right now. And, we've really given some games away that we shouldn't have. And so as we continue to clean some things up and get some guys healthy, that's been another big issue is health. I think we'll continue to get better.
Yeah, you mentioned losing your shortstop, and last year Francisco Ramirez was a guy that you just did not want to see on the base paths. A single turned into a triple, but this year, in addition to doing it at the plate, he seems like he's really filled that shortstop position and been a wall over there for you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Man, he's such a plus defender. He has done an excellent job moving from second to short, which is not an easy transition for everybody. But man, he's so good at the hand-eye coordination part of it and the quickness. He doesn't have the big arm that Andrew Lawrence had, but he gets rid of the ball so quick and so accurate. And so he's done an excellent job over there for us at shortstop. And can't say enough about what he's done defensively, especially. And he's going to get a chance to play it next year at Marion Military, so we're proud for him getting that opportunity as well.
And I got to, you mentioned not having the arm, but I also think that speed and that range that he has. I mean, I've seen some plays where he's kept the ball in the infield, maybe not been able to make the play, but kept that run from scoring or whatever just by being able to get to it.
Yeah, for sure. And speed plays just about anywhere, right? I mean, especially the type of game we play. And so I've been proud of the year he's putting together so far, and I think there's more to come offensively. He's been in a little struggle here of late, but I think he and Brett Burgess are our hitting guy have really worked through some things the last couple of days, and I think you're going to see him get hot.
Yeah, I've noticed you moving around a little lineup, take a little pressure off him, and he seems to be helping him just a little bit.
Yeah, and we also had, Hayden Martford's been hot all year. He's done a really good job for us at playing right field and kind of just flopped them in the order and moved him up in the 2-hole and Francisco down a little bit. And, sometimes guys just need a change of scenery in the lineup just to reset. And so hopefully we'll get him going.
Yeah, Jesse, you're going to have to say his last name for me. Incense, I guess.
ICC.
ICC. Apologize, ICC family. Sophomore, though, he seems like he's really kind of stepped up, taking the most of his opportunity, and it's not giving you any reasons to take him out of the lineup as a sophomore.
Yeah, for sure. And he's a guy that we didn't know a whole lot about. He moved in at Christmas from Reno, Nevada. So he's a brand new to the program and a guy that we knew was physically talented and, was in a battle for that second base position with Caleb Wilson, one of our seniors at the first year. And, Caleb started off hot. And so it allowed us to let Jesse play some JV games and figure out who he was. And Caleb had done a good job for us, but it just got to be where that battle intensified. So other guys were getting some opportunities. And, Jesse was so hot on the JV. He was at over 600 or something like that. So we gave him a shot with the varsity bunch, and he's taken advantage of it so far.
Yeah, and and your pitching staff, obviously led by Luke Davenport, Satchel Wheeler, Matthew Drinkwater. You got Cade McComb, Mason Bush, and Cody Hodges. That's 6 good guys that probably could play or start just about anywhere. You got to be really pleased with the depth in your pitching staff this year.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned those guys because, coming off last year's bunch, probably our 2 top stat guys on the pitching staff were Davenport and Bush. And I think right now they've thrown less than 10 innings for us. They've battled some, whether it be flu or coming off some stuff from the fall. Luke had a little bone spur deal taken out in the fall, and so he's healthy. It's just and then Bush was coming off a little shoulder problem in the off season, so we started him slow like we did Luke, and then he got flu, and so I think between the two of them, they've got between 10 and 15 innings is all. So that, again, back to the health issue, I think we're only going to get better when you get a Davenport and a Bush going full speed again. Guys like Wheeler's been outstanding for us on the mound and threw a no-hitter last Friday against Father Ryan out of Nashville and has picked up a bunch of those innings that we lost from those other 2. And so is Cade McComb. McComb missed most of last year with a labrum issue. And so he's come back and really thrown well for us. He also threw a no-hitter a few weeks ago. And so we've had some guys that we didn't know we'd have to count on step up in those roles. And I think that's why we've been successful at this point. And hopefully getting those other guys healthy will just make us better going forward.
Yeah, and you got to be happy, too, because in that pitching staff, you have a lot of variety that can get you to play some matchups. Davenport's obviously he's got tops out about 88, maybe even 90. Wheeler's more of a mid-range guy, but lives off and Hodges, he's got 4 pitches that he lives off of, that he throws very well. So, as a coach, not only do you have the talent, but you got a lot of they all throw a little bit different, so you can play some matchups.
Oh, there's no doubt. Like you said, Davenport's going to be the right-hander that throws in the upper 80s to touch low 90 with multiple pitches. Wheeler's going to come back at you low 80s with off-speed stuff on the left side. Bush is a down-low guy that's, touching in the low 80s now with the frisbee slider. Matthew Drinkwater's one you mentioned. That's another guy that's really, really stepped up for us. He beat Hartsville through, I think, 5 2/3 or 6 innings against Hartsville the other day and beat them. Who's a really good ball club. And he's a guy that's a low 80s righty, but mixes 3 pitches in the strike zone and just pounds the strike zone. And we keep preaching to our guys that pound the strike zone with 2 to 3 pitches in high school win a lot of baseball games.
Oh, you do.
Look at what last year against us. Was it Gross?
Yeah, CJ Gross.
And he was like 78 to 81 and had it beat us 1-0 in game 2, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
And just pounded the strike zone. And those guys win. I know we get enamored with velocity and all that stuff, but I'll take the guy that's mixing 2 or 3 pitches for strikes. And Drinkwater's one of those guys who's just a sophomore, so more velocity is going to come. But, he's done a really good job doing that.
Yeah, I know you know David Sharp over at Prep Baseball Report, which is where we get a lot of our information from. Says walks and errors equal extra outs, and extra outs equals extra runs. So just like you say, you got to you kill those. If it's almost and we talk about it. You almost look. It's uncanny how a leadoff base hit doesn't always score, but almost always a leadoff walk for some reason always scores. So
Well,
it works out that way.
Coach Orr, our pitching coach, who's my associate head coach, does an excellent job with our guys, and he calls them compound mistakes. So you lead off walk, then we get an error, and then boom, there's a hit and 2 runs. That's when you get the big inning and we get in trouble when you mix them together.
Drinkwater class of 2026 guy. One of the things that's impressed me about him is you wouldn't know he's just a sophomore when he gets on the mound. He carries himself out there like a senior, doesn't he?
Absolutely. He's not a small guy. He's physical and he got a pretty low key mentality or his emotional level is not real high. So you never know if he's going good or bad, which is a plus when you're on the mound. And, he's a guy that just competes and, he's a guy we're going to be counting on long term. When we talk about infield play and at the plate too, he hasn't got a ton of opportunities to do that yet, but he's versatile. We've used him at third, short, second, and first. With him and Icency, Tyler Lewis, a little lefty that's getting some innings now on the mound for us, will be an outfielder. That sophomore bunch is going to be big for us once we move past this year. That's a good group.
Satchel Wheeler, we talked about him just a few minutes ago. He's a good pitcher, but he is almost as important to you in that lineup. I mean, he's got a great bat and he plays a good first base, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure. And he's going to Snead State and going to get an opportunity to do both in the fall and see how things work out. And, I think he's another guy that, number one, he's the best first baseman we have right now. And then number two, he's a guy that just really hadn't got going offensively yet. Like he's capable, like he's done a good job for us. Don't get me wrong, but there's more in the tank. And I think he's last week or so starting to make better contact, even on his misses. They're loud outs, if you know what I mean. So I think he's a guy that's just around the corner from getting hot again.
Talk a little bit about your son, JT Johnson. And congratulations on him going to Snead State as well. But one of the things that's impressed me about him is I was looking through, he's 0 for 1 or 1 for 1, 1 for 2, and he doesn't seem to have. He's walking a lot. He seems to be very disciplined at the plate this year.
Well, and that's one thing he's always done a good job of, and I know it's my son, and I'm bragging on him a little bit, and I don't like to do that a whole lot.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to compliment you because I can tell, and I've watched your games. You coach him when you're, and I just want a question I'm going to ask you next is how you separate the two because you clearly coach your son because I've seen you pull him out of games, I've seen you pinch hit for him in the right situation, when the situation calls for it. So you definitely do an excellent job of wearing the coaching hat on the field and the father hat at home, I've heard.
Well, for guys that have gone through this, it's not always easy, but he does an excellent job. He is not scared to get into deep counts. Some guys don't like getting in 2-strike or deep counts. They get uncomfortable. He's a guy that kind of relishes in that. And so even there was about a 2-week period, in the middle of this far into the year where, he didn't have a hit for like 2 weeks, but he was on base like 50% of the time, and so he was still finding ways to help the team win by getting on base. And he's not afraid to get hit by a pitch or get to that 2-strike count and work a walk. And he loves the 2-strike battle. And then last week he got hot and had like 8 hits last week, and so, he's a guy that's just kind of your team guy. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get on base and help the team win. And so from that standpoint, whether it's coach or dad, I am proud of him that he's that type of player and willing to do those things for us.
Yeah, I tell you, do you find it? I've seen a little bit more kind of transition over the years. The catchers seem to be getting a little bit more disciplined. Do you think that's a function of them understanding? I know coaches spend a lot more time with the nuances of behind the plate, and and I think catchers probably understand the strike zone a little bit better since they're catching it.
You would think so, just because they see it so much. And for him specifically, I mean, he's grown up in the dugout, right? So he knows that I've been preaching about team baseball since he was old enough to walk. But most catchers are dealing with the pitching coach and what the pitcher's mindsets are, so that they get that side of it that a lot of people don't. Then they also are seeing pitch after pitch after pitch, and recognize strike zone. Even though it's a little different squatting versus standing as a hitter, you still got an idea. And so I think that's an advantage for guys that will buy into that. Not all do, but I think a lot of catchers that do understand that and buy into getting as much knowledge about what's coming as they can benefit from that.
You mentioned some guys stepping up. One I noticed is you forget a freshman up there, Will Congo, that's had to come up. Has that been a function of some of the injuries, and he's gotten his opportunity and made the most of it?
Well, and he's a guy that's floated back and forth a little bit and gotten a couple innings here and there. And he's a guy that's going to be big for us down the road. I mean, there's no doubt as a position player and a pitcher. Just early on with the injuries we had on the mound with Davenport and Bush and Gerald, another kid that is coming back from some elbow stuff. He was a guy that kind of pitched with no fear. He wasn't overpowering. Got a good breaking ball, really good breaking ball, and we thought, man, if he's going to pitch with no fear and throw a breaking ball for a strike, let's give him a shot. And so he's gotten a couple outings here and there out of that freshman group. And the other freshman that's really stepped up and is going to be a staple for us going forward is a kid named Hudson Smith. Hudson's caught for us. He's kind of moved into that role. Our other backup catcher, Ben Graves, is a senior, and he's kind of moved into some of the DH role some. And so we've used Hudson as that other catcher, and man, he's going to be a really good one for us. He does a great job behind the plate. And so those two guys, I'm telling you, that sophomore and freshman bunch are really talented. And, so the future is bright coming out of that Liberty Lions group. And I guess now we've got a Journey Jaguar middle school, but we just opened a new one this year where we'll get kids from them too. But, the talent we've got coming from about that sophomore group down through about 6th, 7th grade is we've got some exciting guys coming. So you're seeing a few of those that are a little more mature, a little more ready, get their opportunities early.
Yeah, well, the present is bright for you guys too. I mean, this is a very good baseball team, and I agree with you. I think your record's not indicative of what kind of team you're going to be when you get healthy. Now, you are in a very tough area between Bob Jones, James Clemens, Florence, and Austin. Austin obviously having their struggles this year. Most people say it's a 3-team race, but I'm one of those believers. Anything can happen once you get to area play, and but what is having like a Bob Jones up there who's nationally ranked? Is that a little bit of a motivating factor for your team as you guys head in the area, or they just take it business usual, game by game?
We could care less what goes on over there. I'm gonna be honest. Yes, is that a rivalry deal, and will it matter when we play them? For sure. Buying into all the national rankings and look, and I know we've been ranked with the PBR stuff and all that stuff all year. I mean, and I love David Sharp and everything he does, but I don't buy into that either. We try to just worry about us. And, I know that they've got talented kids across town and they keep finding them somewhere. And, they've had a couple of really good move-ins over the last couple of years. And, he continues to have SEC type talent and good for them. But as far as all that max preps and beating IMG and whatever, like it's just noise that we don't pay attention to. Because if you do pay attention to it, you get bought into it, and it affects how you see that game, right? And
Oh yeah.
So we're going to worry about us and be as prepared as we can, and that's the last series of the year. So, like you said, we got to worry about Florence week 1 of area. We got to worry about Austin week 2, and we've traditionally have not done a good job of that. Like we've played Florence well the last few years. Outside of the 1 year where they were ranked 3rd or whatever, and we struggled with them. They were really good that year in 21. But other than that, we've done a good job because we're fired up for week 1. Where we've dropped the ball the last few years is Austin. And you talk about Austin's having a rough year and it's a transition coaching staff and all those things. Man, we've found a way to drop one to them quite often, and so we've got to do a better job about not looking ahead after we've played Florence, and if we have a good series with Florence, not looking ahead to Bob Jones and forgetting about Austin. So that's the message this year: is we're taking it one game, 1 week at a time. Care less what happens until we get to Bob Jones series.
So if I had to ask you to define your team, like we talked to Coach Smith, this Spain Park team's scrappy. How would you define this year's James Clemens Jets?
I think that fits us very well. We are not the scariest lineup when we walk into the box. But guys just keep finding ways to get on base. We keep finding ways to create runs, and we talked about this last year. I mean, we like to create. We like chaos. I like to make 14 to 18-year-olds make decisions quickly. And so we're going to continue to run the bases and bunt, pressure bunts, not necessarily sack bunts. And we're going to make you throw us out at places and pound the strike zone, make you put the ball in play. And I just think at the high school level, that is the best way to be consistent, is to try to do that, because batting averages are going to, we're going to get hot and cold. But playing high tempo baseball and putting pressure, and the bunt game doesn't go into a slump. Running the bases doesn't go into hard. And I'm not talking about just stealing bases. I'm talking about going first to third. I'm talking about taking an extra base on a base hit. And that's the kind of blue collar mentality I think this group's bought into. And so that's kind of the game we play.
Last one is what do you know as you head into area play? What and health is obviously one of the most important things. What are you kind of looking? What couple steps are you looking for you guys to improve on to maybe have all cylinders firing as you get into area play?
Well, I think as good a job as we've done scoring runs, we are still not swinging the bats well, if that makes sense.
It does.
Again, we found ways to create, and we've scored quite a few runs, but I still think. I mean, Ty Marsh is one we have not mentioned, who's a junior, was a all-state player for us last year, led the team in hitting. He's a Western Kentucky commit. He's not going yet. I promise you, he is mishitting balls by inches, by centimeters, by millimeters, and he's a guy that's not gotten hot yet. And right there in the middle of our lineup, and you get like him and Satchel, get Ramirez going. Those guys get going a little bit. We become really, really dangerous offensively. It's probably as dangerous a team as I've had since I've been here. And so once those guys kind of get going and like they're capable of, I think that's something we got to get going before area play. We got another week, I guess almost 2 weeks really from today. So we got to get those guys going offensively, and then just the health on the mound. Are those guys going to be full throttle by area play? Are they going to be in relief roles? Trying to figure some of that out, and what pieces fall where on the pitching staff will be huge over the next 2 weeks.
Anything else you want to put out there that I haven't asked you?
No, man, I just appreciate y'all having us on. I look forward to coming down, hopefully, if the rain cooperates, and seeing the new digs, right? The new turf. And
it's nice. It's nice.
I know, Will puts out a good product every year, and that's why I want to get him on the regular season schedule, just because we need to see good competition, and just like they do, and always enjoy playing people that do it the right way.
And that is one of the things. One of our guys, fans, wanted to actually ask you, because I told some people who are doing this. You seem to schedule yourself a pretty tough schedule this year. Was that by design, or did it just work out that way? Because I know some coaches like to get the tough schedule to make that run, and you really want to push your guys early so they're ready to go late. Did you schedule so tough by design?
I think so. I think I knew I had a group of 14 seniors coming, and had a lot of those guys back that got a taste of. They were sophomores when we played Hewitt in the quarterfinals, and they came last year to y'all's place and lost those 2 one-run games. And, so I just didn't want them to be surprised by it. So we went to Hewitt to start at the early in the year, coming to you guys. We got lucky enough to see Hartzell the other day, and there's plenty of other good ones on our schedule. You look up and down the schedule, whether it's, 5A, 6A, we're playing, ranked teams at every level. And, you just don't want to be surprised when you get into the playoffs. And, so with the team I had, I knew that maybe we need to be tested a little more early. And we always play a pretty decent, tough schedule, but You're right. We added more this year for sure.
A lot of people thought we should have been a second-round matchup last year. We were so evenly matched, and probably to see one of either Spain Park or James Clemens exit in the first round was a shame last year, because both teams were too talented to have that happen. But that's the way it works in the playoffs, right?
One-run games, and that both of them got scored in the last inning, if I remember right. I mean,
they did.
The guy got the hit to walk it off in the first one, and then it's Lawrence, my shortstop, goes into the 7th, which I never would have thought would have happened, and gives up the 1 run in the top of the 7th. And it's really, really good. Even though we were on the losing end of it, it's really, really good baseball.
It was good baseball. It was good baseball. It was a shame to see anybody lose those. But well, Coach, hopefully we get to talk to you again. Maybe when the playoffs start again. Always a pleasure to talk to you, especially somebody from Texas that understands Ranger baseball. And hope we get to see you tomorrow night. If not, though, we'll definitely talk again. And good luck tonight against Hazel Green.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Coach. I really appreciate it. And seriously, even if either way, if we get to play or don't get to play, I'd love to talk to you again, maybe heading into the playoffs.
Oh,